Which function below has a root at x equal to 3? Whenever they tell you that there's a root at x equal to 3, that means that x equal to 3 is the next intercept. That means that whenever you do the long division, or the synthetic division in this case, your remainder should be 0. So let's try the first one. Notice that we are missing an exponent. I'm missing a x to the first power. Remember, your degree of the polynomial is to the third, so you have x3, x2, then you need to have an x1, and then the number. Now that I fill that in, I'm going to write down my coefficients. 2, -5, 0, and 1. And I'm going to use my synthetic division. I'm going to let x equal to 3. And if that's the root of this polynomial, then you should end up with a 0. So let's try this. You add and you multiply. 3 times 2 is 6. You add, then you multiply. 3 times 1 is 3. You add and you multiply. 3 times 3 is 9. You add and your remainder is not 0, so therefore 3 is not a root for the first function. Let's try letter B. Let me try letter B over here. First, I want to make sure that I'm not missing any exponents. We have a 1, -5. We have an x4. We have an x to the third. We don't have an x squared. So I'm going to place a 0 instead of the x squared. So we have a 1 and -5. I need a 0 for the x squared. Then a 4. And then the 6. And we're going to once again let x equal to 3 to see if this is a root. Remember, if it's a root, then your remainder should be 0. Start with 0. Add. 3 times 1 is 3. Add. 3 times -2 is -6. Add. 3 times -6 is 18. Add. 3 times 22 is way too big, 66. Add. So notice that does not give you a 0, so therefore 3 is not a root for letter B. So let's try letter C now. Am I missing any exponents? I'm missing an x to the first power, so I'm going to fill in the space in there. So I have a 3, a -8, a 0, and a -9. And I'll place my synthetic division, and I want to find out if x is equal to 3, if that's a root. I'm going to start with a 0, and we add. Multiply. 3 times 3 is 9, then we add. 3 times 1 is 3, then we add. 3 times 3 is 9, and then we add. So this means 0. Since this is 0, therefore this is a root. So your answer is letter C. And notice that they're only asking for one answer. So your answer is letter C.